What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 7, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Arizona Cardinals and the New Orleans Saints. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NFL Week 7. Let's take a look at this NFL showdown between the New Orleans Saints and the Arizona Cardinals. So at the quarterback position, I like Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals playing the New Orleans Saints, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks, and Kyler Murray has averaged 20.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 6.3 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 73% owned, projected at 20.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,200 DraftKings salary. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 44 points scored in this game, with the Cardinals favored by 2.5. Kyler Murray has scored 20, 17, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he got 10, 4, and 12 rush attempts in those games. So I love the matchup, and I love the rushing upside. Remember, Joe Burrow put up 36 fantasy points last week against the Saints, so I like Kyler Murray here versus the New Orleans Saints. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. So, stud on the slate is Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints, and Alvin Kamara has averaged 15.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 16.5 rush attempts per game and 6.5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 59% owned, projected at 17.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,600 DraftKings salary, and Alvin Kamara has scored 18 and 27 fantasy points in the last 2 games off of 19 and 23 rush attempts on top of 9 and 6 pass targets. So he's getting monster volume, so I like Alvin Kamara here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, running backs for the Arizona Cardinals. We don't know if it's going to be James Conner or Eno Benjamin. Both of them are right around the same salary, so if James Conner is in, I think he could be a good play here tonight. And if he's out, then Eno Benjamin could be a good play here tonight, so just keep an eye on the injury news.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So, stud on the slate, welcome back DeAndre Hopkins from the Arizona Cardinals, and the New Orleans Saints give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins going to be about 40% owned, projected at 14.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,200 DraftKings salary. So he's got a great matchup, his first game of the season. So I like DeAndre Hopkins here versus the New Orleans Saints. Another wide receiver I like is Rondell Moore from the Arizona Cardinals. Rondell Moore has averaged 9.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.7 pass targets per game. He's even getting an average of 1 rush attempt per game. He's been on the field for 73% of the snaps, going to be about 42% owned, projected at 11.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, and Rondell Moore has scored 11, 13, and 4 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 10, 8, and 5 pass targets. Now, of course, DeAndre Hopkins coming back could probably eat into this target share here. He was averaging 9.2 targets per game on the season. Averaging 7.7 targets per game on the season. So you can expect those to come down just a little bit here, but I think he's still in a good spot. So I like Rondell Moore here versus the New Orleans Saints. Okay, now for the Saints, you have Chris Olave, and he's averaging 16 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.4 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 41% owned, projected at 13.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,400 DraftKings salary, and Chris Olave didn't play last week, but he scored 15 and 17 fantasy points in the 2 weeks before that, off of 6 and 7 pass targets. And let's just take a look at the wide receivers for the New Orleans Saints. Jarvis Landry is out. Michael Thomas is out. So that leaves Chris Olave, Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, and Keith Kirkwood is questionable. So Chris Olave should get a ton of pass targets here tonight. And then the other 2 guys you want to take a look at are Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway. And between those 2 guys, I like Marquez Callaway, who scored 7 fantasy points off of 7 pass targets last week. Now, Traquan Smith scored 13 fantasy points off of 3 pass targets last week. Both of those guys are going to be about 20% owned, but Marquez Callaway only 4,800 DraftKings salary versus Traquan Smith at 6,200 DraftKings salary. So I like Chris Olave here versus the Arizona Cardinals.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. Our NBA tools are awesome. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
But then I also like Marquez Callaway as one of the low salary wide receiving options here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. So this guy's not getting any pass attempts, but he sure is getting rush attempts. Take a look at Taysom Hill from the New Orleans Saints playing the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Taysom Hill averaging 13.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.2 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 6.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,200 DraftKings salary, and Taysom Hill has scored 5, 37, and 8 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Not my favorite player pick of the slate, but you always got to watch out for Taysom Hill. He could explode and have a monster night out of nowhere. So I don't mind Taysom Hill here versus the Arizona Cardinals. But the tight end that I'm looking at here tonight is Zach Ertz from the Arizona Cardinals. And Zach Ertz has averaged 13.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.5 pass targets per game. He's been on the field for 85% of the snaps, going to be about 41% owned, projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,000 DraftKings salary. Zach Ertz has scored 14, 11, and 17 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 10, 10, and 6 pass targets. So I like Zach Ertz here versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you want to save some salary here at the tight end position, take a look at Juan Johnson from the New Orleans Saints. Now, he's only averaging 5.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting average of 4.2 pass targets per game, but he scored 8 fantasy points last week off of 6 pass targets. He's been on the field for 67% of the snaps, going to be about 22% owned, projected at 6.3 fantasy points here tonight. But I like this pick because he's only 3,000 DraftKings salary, should get a handful of targets here tonight, and he's got a fantastic matchup. The Cardinals are giving up the second most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So I like Juan Johnson here versus the Arizona Cardinals.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.